Dr. Cooper?
Who's Dr. Cooper?
Mr. Cooper, the loan servicer. But you put something else in the
loan servicer?
Yeah.
It's like a company?
Yes.
No, that's the principal. Isn't that a principal from like that one show back in the 90s? Mr. Cooper, whatever. Hanging with Mr. Cooper. You guys don't remember that show?
No, I'm not in my 40s.
I had a teacher in high school named Mr. Cooper, and then it's one of my core high school memories because halfway through the school year, he killed himself.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
Mr. Cooper is powered by Rocket Mortgage, so there's a lot of that.
By Rocket, did you say Mr. Cooper is powered by Rocket Mortgage? Okay.
Yeah.
By Rocket Mortgage.
I'm reading their headline here.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Collecting Keys. Don't worry, we won't talk about such dark things for the entire
I just want to point out, Hanging with Mr. Cooper was in 1997. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So Dylan, what were you, 2 years old?
Four.
And I was 7. I mean, I know you remember it so vividly, Dan, because you're an old man.
I don't. I didn't watch that show that often. I wasn't.
What were the 80s like?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you do. You have at least one memory from the 80s. I guarantee it.
Probably. It just bleeds together with the 90s, though. Like the 90s, I will say this, and everybody says in their generation when they get older, the 90s was the shit. The 90s was as cool as it got. Like until like up and not as like in the history of time, but it was like the last cool period. Because then 2000s hit, the internet hit. Then from there, it was just like every year, you're just taking away people's cool shit to do.
I feel like there was cool stuff through like the early 2000s.
That was the last of the frontier. Let's put it that way.
It was a different time for you because you were at war. I was in middle school, you know.
That's true.
we were having completely different life experiences.
I'll tell you what, 2005 in Iraq for a guy in the middle, it was pretty sick. But like, you know, not for the Iraqis, but
yeah,
for me.
You guys can finally be out there on your own, exploring your own closeted desires with no judgment.
I'm not going to say I didn't see some weird shit, but nothing like that.
Oh, come on. I know the stories when we're having a whiskey somewhere and you really start to get emotional. It's all right. You can save those for a different time of the show.
Start talking about
the don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, when we have our 500th episode, we can do something where you can just come in and share war stories. We'll get you a nice bottle of something. Yeah.
I got Elijah Craig in my office over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. You might have stepped that up, big dog. Elijah Craig's good, but not as good as, what do I got back there? We got some Blantons back there. That's one of my favorites, actually.
There you go. I'm not even a huge bourbon guy, but I just kind of have it.
You got to have it in your office to be, you know, a real estate guy. You got to have a cigar and a whiskey.
See, I'm so not a brand person. I don't know any of these. I can appreciate when something's better than something else, but like as soon as I have it, the name of it just leaves my mind.
Oh, you don't care about the name? Yeah.
No, I don't care about what it is.
You're not a brand snob.
No, not at all. I mean,
except for your Carhartt jackets.
Yeah, except for Carhartt fleeces.
Well, even then, like, so I got those because I recognize the brand. When I'm comparing against the other ones, I don't know.
I would have gone Patagucci personally. I like the Patagucci better.
The Patagucci ones, though, they look bad. Like, they just weren't as nice. And they were like twice as expensive.
It's the same looking thing. Yeah, if they're twice as expensive, I get it. But
no, they did
look
it
the same to me.
Like, it was probably like, and so we're talking about our vest that we got for SLA. But yeah, so the Patagonia, like the model that they have was not SLA brand.
Oh,
right. So they were making a presentation about who was supposed to wear those. I'm like, yeah, not that guy. I'm not hiring that guy for sure.
Was it a guy with like manicured fingernails, very slender?
Oh yeah. He was carrying a briefcase. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, we can't
Definitely.
do that.
No way.
Off-brand. Well, that's what you get.
Speaking of brands, did you guys see that Allbirds, which is a shoe company,
I did see this.
They branded to an AI GPU processor, and they were up like 7x on the day.
Okay, so I watched a reel on that this morning, and it was fascinating because it's just the typical, to me, what this was presenting. Can't remember which this girl I follow is. She's actually a good follow. She does like breakdowns of stuff. I don't like half the shit she says, but you know, she still says it. But she was talking about the breakdown. So this company invested $5 million into Allbirds and said, we're going to invest this money as debt and it'll convert from debt to equity when you guys make the successful pivot to AI. Well, just by that announcement, it went from $3 to like $19. And so they made a bunch of this $5 million investment. Essentially, there's a bunch of clauses in there that would allow them to convert that to equity, and then they could just sell it if they want to. So the idea is you do that to like 10 failing companies with 50 million trying to get the upside. Like it's like I don't know. What kind of investment would you call that? Like
gambling.
A gambling investment. Yeah. But it's like, it's not the market driving it. It's a bullshit.
The same shit happened with blockchain a couple of years ago. They would just pivot to a blockchain company and their stock price would go up, right?
Yes. Everybody was doing that. Yeah, you're right.
There's always been that. Like when we were in college, it was the cloud. Right, everything had like a cloud.
It was the .com before that, right?
.com, pets.com. Everyone had a .com company. Now it's AI. I mean, and even between blockchain, there's the NFTs. Every company was doing NFTs for like a little bit.
Yeah, that was
that was the NFTs was like the short lived. That was the one hit wonder there for 15 minutes.
Yeah, the problem is that one was like too weird. Like people couldn't fully understand it. And then you also have like the Ryan Pinedas and the freaking Jake Pauls of the world out there promoting those so heavily that it's like, come on. Can't do that. And also, I shouldn't put them next to each other because those aren't even a close comparison.
Also, but they were kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But like, also, it's like that was such a like. I get it. Like, well, this is your digital thing. I'm like, cool. Well, I'll just take a picture of it and put it on my digital thing. I don't care if it's the real thing.
Like, no, I own it. Well, I can still right click and hit save as.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I actually own it. It's like cool that it just doesn't make sense because I feel like people, regardless, still want some when they're investing in art, still want some tangibility to that art, right?
Yeah.
Like it's cool that it's on the screen, like no doubt. Like I'll give like digital artists and stuff like that. That's cool, but it's not as cool as being able to have it in your basement.
Yeah.
In a storage closet.
Long story short is you guys should just turn SLA public. It's SLA AI lending company.
Oh, dude, that's so fucking smart, honestly.
And then you're going to be billionaires.
So no joke, we are working on an AI processing tool right now. We're not working on it. We're a pilot lender for this company that's building this. And it's definitely a little rough around the edges right now, but it's going to completely change the space. And so we're basically working hand in hand with them to like kind of test it and get everything ironed out with it. And once is up and going, we absolutely could market as that. Because like a lot of the tools, they're not just internal, they're actually borrower facing. Right. And so the borrower is the one that's serviced by the AI instead of like just our backend. And once we get that fully functioning, there's no reason we can't advertise as an AI company. And then as far as the borrower knows,
I mean, if you're doing any other kind of like, Google ads or Facebook marketing, I mean, that's going to drive clicks.
Quick turnarounds on your loans.
Yeah.
And then we'll just do it the same speed.
The problem is though, we'll be saying that honestly, and really to make money, you got to be doing it earlier and you got to be completely full of shit because those are the ones who make the most money at the end of the day is you collect all that investor money before you have a tangible thing. And then hopefully you come out the other side with something that actually works.
With an idea. Once you get the money, you can get the people, then you get the product.
Right. I know. I've seen a lot of Instagram jokes about that of like, the current phase of like venture capital in San Francisco. And it will be like these two guys, they're like standing up and they're like, so we have this company and we need $30 million. And they go, oh, it's a company. And they go, we don't know yet, but it's going to do a thing that's going to change a lot. And they go, oh, okay. Like, what's your guys' backgrounds? Like, oh, I dropped out of high school. I went to Wharton for 2 years and I quit. And they go, oh, well, is it AI? And they go, yes. And they go, perfect. Here's $30 million. See you later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it. That's so it though.
They have the corporate speak like, oh, we're going to drive synergies and pull out,
like
all this kind of bullshit.
So dumb.
This is a good topic to talk about because I had this note. I want to see what your guys' opinions are. So if you read Facebook much at all, you'll probably come across personal acquaintances out there that are spending time building their own AI agents or building this AI system for their business. And I have a couple friends that have implemented in their business, like built stuff themselves. And I trust that they've done great things. Like I'm not like trying to like shit on anybody that's doing it, but I feel like there's an argument that for like most people, it's just like another deflection of doing what you're supposed to be doing as an entrepreneur.
Yes,
totally.
Like I'm now building an AI agent to do the shit I don't want to do. So then I spend all my time trying to build this thing that'll be very, very imperfect because I'm not an expert and it'll do the shit I don't want it to do. Instead, maybe you could hire a person or you could hire a company to build it for you. Like like Mike and I, like we're not hiring a company. Like they already had a product and we're piloting it for them. Like to me, that seems like a better use of your time.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that trend that you're seeing, I mean, we've seen this with everything, over the past while, right? If you go back to the .com age, you had all these companies that were very heavily hiring teams to like build their own websites and these own things before like the WordPress and different website builders and stuff came out, which maybe was fruitful, maybe wasn't. Right now we're seeing the same thing with AI. And if you are in any kind of credible industry, eventually somebody that is better at it than you, that's doing it full time, will come out with a product to do whatever you're trying to do with AI. And the thing that's so silly about what I think of this trend right now is you have these people that, to your point, are completely detracting from actually growing their business. They're making less revenue. They're making less money. They're spending all this time to be quote unquote AI experts when realistically, whatever they're building is probably going to be obsolete in the next 12 months when somebody who actually knows what they're doing comes and builds the thing that you're trying to build.
Yeah.
You know, so like honestly, it's better just to wait and be good at your business and let the AI dorks like figure out whatever you're trying to do, because there's somebody that's in your industry that has been involved in that whole movement for years before you that is trying to do the same thing. I guarantee it.
And they'll figure it out, and then you'll just buy it from them. And
exactly.
Wins. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? The thing is, it probably wouldn't be that expensive, because one thing I found with a lot of the AI stuff, like the different services, like the different programs and tools and stuff, they're not inherently that expensive at all. Right? A couple $100, because it's not that expensive for that to run.
Because they don't have any overhead. Most of them don't have big offices. Most of them don't have a ton of employees, right? I mean, significantly less overhead to run these businesses. And it's more of like the way we're looking at with our system, like their cost is like tokens, right?
Yeah.
And so then they're going to pass it on to you plus whatever profit they need.
Well, so a little while ago, I forget which big entrepreneur it was, but they said that AI will allow for the first one-person billion-dollar company. And then I read this thing, it was 2 weeks ago, that not quite one person, but there's been a 1 billion in sales two-person company that has come out that utilized AI. And basically what it was is they built a website and a sales platform that sold GLP-1s.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow. Smart. Yeah.
Right. So weight loss stuff. So they just heavily targeted people. They were selling a product that already exists and is generally commoditized, right? But it just did it on such an efficient mass scale. And I guess they've done already over $1 billion in sales. You know, what their actual profit looks like, I don't know, but that's insane. Right. It was two guys. They built this thing over the course of like 2.5 years.
Yeah. Who cares if it's even 1%? That's still pretty good. 1% of $1 billion is a lot.
No, it's still pretty good.
There's a guy in my GoPod who is really into this kind of stuff. But he's also a real estate agent. And he was trying to do like the OpenClaw thing to make it like some process and workflows better for listings and stuff.
Sounds like him.
Anyway, but he brought up a good point, because he's building an AI course for real estate agents on school, Hermosis thing, whatever.
Because his AI doesn't work for him.
Totally.
Well, he said that the claw bots that were really popular for a while, where people are buying these Mac Minis and whatever, that they would run on an Anthropic software like Opus 4.0, whatever it was, right? But you needed the pro platform of Anthropic to run it. But Anthropic changed the billing mechanism where if you use Claw, you'd run out. So it went from basically you need $200 a month to like $200 a day to run your OpenClaw.
Yeah.
What they did, I heard about this. What they did was they said they changed the pricing model so OpenClaw is kind of useless, and then they dropped their own product.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Yeah.
Right.
And so anybody who had an OpenClaw just got overnighted pretty much.
Yeah. Your whole thing. And Anthropic's is better even, probably, honestly.
And that's what he said.
Yeah. That's like the other flaw with this whole system. Right? People trying to do it themselves. There's still like the overlord that controls your infrastructure. Yeah. They can change it whenever you want.
And it's based on usage, right? It's the more you need it, then they just change the pricing and they wipe you out, and then now you have to buy theirs. It's like, it just, to me, the whole thing seems like more power to you depending on like what you're doing. I know there's people trying to do like email management, and there's probably some simple things that you can build like a quick agent for, which totally makes sense. But guys that are like going all in and like that's all they're spending their time on doing and talking about, to me, it seems like a waste of time. Either that or your core business sucks anyways, and you just shut it all down.
Yeah.
Because like if you don't have something in front of you in your business that you know you should be doing that'll actually make you exponentially more revenue than working on your little AI system, then you're probably in the wrong business anyways.
And I also think people tend to try to go too complex. Because so like on Claude this past weekend, we're hiring loan officers right now. Speaking of which, if anyone needs a job, hit me up on Instagram at Mike_invest if you want to sell loans. And I used it to build a usable sizer for quoting out loans that I can give to new loan officers that might be like a little bit greener around how to judge the quality of fix and flip loans. And so the whole point of it is I took the different like rate sheets and calculators and stuff that we have from our different investors, and I put that all into a singular tool. And so what they can do is if they're on the phone with a borrower, they can quote something out in like 10 seconds by just entering the basics of the loan, as opposed to having to shop it around, right? Or like having to shop around after the fact, or, get too far into the weeds of the deal. And that's something that if I tried to do that on Excel, would have taken me a hell of a long time, but I was able to do it on Claude. And it's actually like a thing that we can embed on a website. And it took me, I don't know, maybe 4 hours, 5 hours. It's pretty easy.
See, I wonder if something like that will come to the off-market business, because I've used it to help clean up marketing lists and stuff. But like Dataflick and Audantic were both these big providers for a while that promoted AI data. Like that's so your data better get better motivated sellers. Was always a bust for me. I tried both of them. And so maybe it just takes time. Like, I don't know.
Well, I think the problem is it requires like regular quality control. All this stuff does. And the problem with people that are like selling these tools, especially in kind of like the fringe industries like wholesale real estate, they're doing that because it doesn't work in their own company. They couldn't figure out how to do it. And so they're just trying to find a bunch of schmucks to buy it, right? And so even with the tool that I built, the first couple times that I sort of like had it built out and like functioning, it would so confidently give me back numbers. And if you didn't have critical thinking skills or understand enough math to like recognize that it was wrong, it'd be very easy to be like, okay, cool, that worked, right? Or like to know and have enough discipline to actually click through like all the different potential settings to make sure that it's all right. Because you don't know what it's actually doing on the back end, you know? And so when it comes to things like data, that's even worse because the complexity there is so massive. And the number of things they can screw up is kind of infinite, right? Especially if you're looking at like a mailing list of 100,000 people in a city and you don't know what they're filtering against, what they're doing. Like this has always been my biggest knock on the different marketing companies in the wholesale space, whether this is cold calling companies like the REI Direct Mail or whatever, is they always promise that they're going to do it better. But we all know that as they grow, what that's going to look like is they're going to pull a general list. A Filipino is going to like filter out people that you've mailed before, and they're going to just send it. And they have no real reason to make sure that it's credible. You're right there, Dan?
I hate owning a cat. I don't like it climbing on me. Like it always gets up on my sheet.
It's because you're warm.
My basement cat.
Maybe you should turn up your heat in your house.
I probably should.
It's one of those things that while it's so unregulated, it's going to be hard to know what the true value is. But at the same time, I think that most people that are trying to like optimize their entire businesses or build their own CRMs, I see people that are like, yeah, I built like an entire infrastructure for my business. I'm like, great. That's not going to be useful to you in 6 months. You just wasted so much time doing that. I guarantee it.
Well, and the things that people should be doing in business that we've alluded to before is usually like marketing and sales for most businesses. And those things are hard to do.
Yeah. And I think instead of saying like, who on my team can this replace? And this is the problem I think with small entrepreneurs, which is a lot of our circle, because small entrepreneurs, they still have a scarcity mindset. And so what they're always trying to do is reduce their expenses.
Yeah.
When it's so much easier to increase your revenue. And so what they try to do is they look at like their salaries, which is always your biggest expense. And they say, how can I get rid of these with AI? When instead you say, how can I increase my revenue while keeping salaries the same?
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be a much bigger spread every single time. But people just don't understand that. And so if instead of trying to replace your employees, you build tools to make it so you can have worse employees that do a better job more efficiently, right? Or even like, I want to say worse employees, I say lower paid employees, specifically overseas, right? You can get good overseas employees that maybe just don't have the knowledge base that you need. And you do that, you're going to end up net significantly better than if you're trying to just like axe, I don't know, 20 grand a month off your salaries.
Yeah.
Honestly. Mm-hmm. All right, move on from that. I'll get off my high horse here.
The next point Dylan's going to know more about than my dumb ass, but Dr. Copper, is it indicating, that's the truth. That's what people call it, right, Dylan? Dr. Copper.
Correct.
Dr. Copper is is copper. People use it as like, they call it Dr. Copper for, I don't know, Dylan, you probably know why, but it's because it actually has a lot to do with indicating market swings because it's so heavily involved in so many different parts of the market would be my understanding, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like when it declines a certain percentage, and actually we can just probably look it up, it has been a good indicator of forthcoming recessions in the next, I think it's 6 months.
And it's been like, it's on a tear. It's above $6 a pound right now, which is indicative of expansion, not contraction. What do you guys think?
I understand the whole concept here is they're trying to say production is continuing, right? But I think the problem, like when you look at any of these sort of, I would say like import-export indicators.
Mind you, it's predicted the last 8 recessions.
For sure. But I think that now more than ever, we have this massive divergence of like wealth between the haves and the have-nots. And I think fundamentally a lot of businesses are doing fine. It's the individuals that are not. You know,
so who cares about those people?
You know what? You want to know who doesn't care? The economy. Like, honestly.
That's what I was going to say. My point was that was kind of a funny way to get there. But like, what is the market doing as a mass? Because if the market keeps going up and you're listening to this show and you're like, I care about the market going up because I'm invested at some level, then you don't really care.
I mean, it is wild that the S&P hit all-time highs yesterday.
Yeah. It feels wild, right?
Like during a war, during somewhat declining economic data, and like gasoline prices, like copper going up, all of like the actual essentials, raw materials to run the world, not just the United States, are increasing demand, shorter supply because of the war, you would think that those increased prices would cause economic weakness and therefore that would affect the stock market. But that hasn't been the case.
Which would typically happen like after, 9/11, not exactly after 9/11, but anytime you're going into a war, you're taking a lot of resources from the economy.
Well, like the next example is COVID, which like things crashed almost immediately, but then they just pumped the trillions of dollars and they've pretty much said, they said they're not going to do that this time around. Who knows if that's true or not.
They should not do that this time around because it's
a diminishing returns aspect.
I think it's accelerating, right? Like now it's like, okay, so that really created issues last time. This time it'd accelerate that to even whatever is happening, whatever the impending cliff is, accelerates it even quicker.
Well, the Fed's one of their worries is inflation. And if you're going to get inflation from this war and you pump a whole ton of money, it's fuel on the fire.
Don't worry about inflation? Bullshit.
Yeah, right.
Something that I would like to see is like, what is the difference in like corporate spending versus consumer spending versus several years ago? Because consumer spending is going to be down because stuff is just so much more expensive, right? People are just buying like less luxurious.
Or is it the same because people are buying less, but
costs are more totally, and which is a problem.
Right, it is. You're getting less for what you spend the same amount of money.
Dollar amount the same, volume less.
Yeah, and we all see this right now, right? Like my wife and I's finances are up like 30% over a couple of years ago, and we're not really buying that much more stuff.
Yeah.
It's
so
crazy.
Expensive, dude.
Like everything's expensive. The typical grocery run is more expensive. Gas is more expensive. Even like freaking software. Like we just got our Panda Doc invoice today, and apparently they're charging us usage fees now on top of our unlimited subscription. I'm like, so that's new, but it's because everyone can basically nickel and dime their way to whatever. And that's the current economy that we live in. And so when we're talking about production being up, it's like, who is this for? They're producing more, but are they just selling it to each other? Right. And so you have the commission. Are they selling it to governments? And so it's cutting out the consumer market altogether. I feel like that has to be the case. And that can equally fuel the market, especially if that's the vast majority of the consumption going on. But that doesn't mean that it's a healthy situation for all of us who live in the economy.
So in my sense, which is senseless sometimes, most often, but my sense here is all other economic indicators are not looking great. Like typically we'd be in a recession right now. Because remember, maybe you don't remember, but like in 2019, like everybody was like, we're ready for a recession. We're due for a recession. It's going to happen. Everything was going towards recession. And then COVID hit. And we had this like super deep recession and then it popped right back out. And the Fed just completely printed their way out of it, right? So theoretically, should we have been in a recession back then? Even if you just look at the cycles of what a recession looks like, I wouldn't consider that COVID a recession. I think that was like a blip and they changed the trajectory of that. All of that money they printed created even more problems with inflation, and people truly are, even us, like we're all high income earning people. Like you could feel it, like, right? You have to be making probably, I would guess, I don't even know, multiple 7 figures a year consistently to be like, I don't feel it. To, you know what I mean? And you probably still feel a little bit because you're not flying private, all that stuff. You're seeing everything go up, right? But anyways, back to my point here. All the indicators economically are pointing towards you should be in a recession right now. Everything's been going bad. Is AI such an uplift that it's carrying everything else? Because you look at the S&P 500 is just a few companies now, is what's everybody else. S&P 497 doesn't matter or whatever it is, right? 790, whatever they call it, 493, whatever. And those companies have such large masses of wealth that they can spend their way out of anything, and they're heavily, heavily investing in AI. And so copper being where it's at now, is that really not driven by the mass market? It's more driven by AI because they need to get power lines to data centers. They got to build data centers, which are copper intensive. You have all these actual like things that need real copper just for this small concentration. And so is that actually carrying the copper index up? So you're like, oh, everything's good. The rest of the market looks like shit, but then AI also uplifts the whole market because it's such a massive amount of spending.
And that's kind of my point, right? Is like, what is that compared to the consumer sentiment?
Sure.
Because I guess if the vast majority of the spending is coming from the massive corporations that have trillions and trillions of dollars, it's going to inflate the value.
So 2 things. One, we're hitting even all-time highs today. We're at 7084 in the S&P 500, and we crossed 7,000 yesterday. But I was looking for something and I saw yesterday. I can't find it. But to Dan's point, they measure something in markets called breadth, which is like how much, like the percentage of companies that move the whole market. Mm-hmm. And the story here is there's like 8 of the companies basically were responsible for the move of the S&P 500 yesterday. And that was a standard deviation event of like 6. So like one in every 1,000 years, like kind of that correlation happens.
Wow.
So all that to say, what's happening now is not a normal scenario.
No, this is like the current arms race, honestly. Like you have all of these individuals, these companies that are larger than most countries.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That are currently jockeying for their place in the future as the core AI, robotics, whatever company. Right. Like we have surpassed the phase where it's like nations that are trying to do that. And it is people.
Yeah.
It is CEOs.
It kind of makes me wonder, it's like reminiscent of like 100 years ago when like the antitrust stuff came into play and they started breaking up companies like Standard Oil because they were just amassing too much wealth. So they made the companies get broken up. Are we in a position right now where you're the Facebook or Meta, you're Google, you're Anthropic, you're OpenAI, where they have so much money and they're the only ones that can invest in it right now?
Yeah.
Right. They have such deep pockets. They can do that. And they could ride out whatever consumer recession we're in and then be the only players capable of deploying this to the masses in 5 years from now. And will be maybe their company's 100x bigger, which would be nuts to think about. Right.
Yeah.
But there's almost unlimited market for like people's systems being able to do jobs for you, right? It's just an unlimited amount of growth for them. So is that the point to where now we have to say, well, Meta, you're no longer Meta, you're this, you're that, and break them up?
I mean, maybe the problem is you need people that actually care, right? Like when the federal government that's in charge, they're participants in the whole thing. Like why would they?
Well, they're not going to do it now. We're not there yet, but in 10 years, 5 years.
Well, if you say, to that analogy, let's say it's an arms race, or like, let's say they're building railroads, or like, like you were saying in the 1920s America, you don't have the global arms race issue because now their scapegoat, whether it's true or not, is going to be like, well, China's going to build the AI. And if we don't going to do it, then we're going to lose to them. Right. That's not necessarily true back when oil companies were all over the world, or like they're mostly concentrated in the United States.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. That's fair.
I think the challenge is always this sort of mentality that we will lose. Right. I'm like, will we? Like, is it the worst thing if China's AI is better than ours? I mean, a lot of China's tech is already better. We've been utilizing them forever.
There's a couple perspectives to think about. The one that was recently brought to me, it's a good point, is China desperately wants to be the number one in the world. And it's because they can do what the US has been doing, where we can set the world economy up to benefit us. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the US has been able to do all the things that we do, because the economy is really focused, like we're the nucleus. Where now if you shift that nucleus to China, the actual downside is actually significant compared to where we're at now. Not because like we would just lose things and China would just crush us, but the world would shift to where China is the nucleus. And so the benefits would all insource to them, and our really fragile, debt-ridden economy would just collapse, and there'd be really not a lot left.
But people always say this, so they're significant. Significant to who? There's already a massive poverty rate. I guess
a good example would be like, you can't just go buy a house anymore because who's going to give you a loan? That whole American dream of the housing market would not exist.
You're talking about like a change in governments.
I'm talking about a change of, so I'm trying to repeat the articulation to me, so it's not going to sound as cool, but basically the whole world, the US benefits from the whole world having us as the nucleus, right? Because now we get to make the rules. So now if China gets to set the rules, they can set up the petrodollars and all that sort of stuff that favors them, which is what they would want to do. That's what America's been doing. Why wouldn't any country want to have any little fracture in your economy? You just use the world to fix it, and we just patch it together, and everything's set up to benefit the US right now. So alternatively to that it's just that China, everything's set up to, everybody wants to buy China's debt. And the only example I can come up with right now off the top of my head is like, everybody wants to buy China's debt, no longer the US debt, which means we can't just sell treasuries. I mean, the government can no longer back these private institution loans. There's just way less capital coming into our market. So there's not as much money, which is how we kind of live, because you just go get more money. Like, has anybody in the US ever had a hard time getting money?
Yeah. The answer is yes. Business. People have a hard time getting money from us all the time, Dan.
Okay. In the history, there has been some people.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you're a middle-aged white dude who's done reasonably well for yourself, you have no problem getting money, like in America. As far as when I say get money, like people being willing to loan you money and stuff like that.
Yeah. I guess my sort of view against this is just always, I don't see what situation things get like net worse for the majority of Americans that are already kind of not awesome.
It's a great argument. Yeah.
General, like quality of life in terms of like the homes that we live in, things is better, than a lot of other countries, right? If you look at other like first world countries though, where they have access to better healthcare, general affordability is significantly higher. The way that the society works is a lot more uniform because they are a more uniform culture. Like those are things that are already screwed up, and those aren't going to get better regardless of what happens. And so if China all of a sudden was like the number one power, let's say it happened overnight magically, what we'll see is like a massive dip in the US because a lot of like the big companies are going to now go where their next opportunity is, which is in China, which they're also all already doing, by the way.
To some level, they're not allowed to legally, but.
Can I touch on that? Because like 2001 is when, quote unquote, we let China into WTO, which is the World Trade Organization. And if you remember, the late 90s to early 2000s is when a lot of the Midwest.
I do remember that.
And their manufacturing jobs got shipped overseas. Right. So even that was I would say a net negative. Yes. So our material things stayed cheap or got cheaper, but it came at the cost of jobs that got shipped overseas.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you guys in the Midwest all started doing drugs.
Right.
All over the United States, people started doing drugs.
Yeah. And then you guys shipped your drug addicts over here in the West Coast, and now we all have drug addicts.
I don't have fentanyl.
It was because of China. Yeah. It's because you sent them to us.
Either way, like the economy talk is always it just seems so pointless to me because it does not represent the current lifestyle being experienced by the average American, right? Which is fine. That's like not what the politicians and the news people want you to care about. They want you to think that things are ripping so that they get your votes and they can stay at the top of the pyramid. So the direction that we're going, I think, is inherently pretty dangerous because we're even getting away from like nations that had like at least people that they cared about. And it's purely just individuals that are driving the entire thing that have like maybe their companies they care about, but also they'll easily axe 50% of those people if they can be replaced with AI, right? So they don't really care.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're going to have like this set of like the 0.1% of the 0.1% of the 0.1% that's essentially driving everything forward, And if you look at pretty much every sci-fi sort of like series story that's ever been written, right? Dystopian. That's essentially what caused it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's happening in front of our eyes. Like
it is.
It's like you think about the pointless wars we're in right now. Like, do you think Ukrainians and Russian people were like, yeah, let's go fuck those dudes up?
No.
Probably not. Do you think that everybody in the people were like, let's go bomb Iran? Who made that decision? The Iranians didn't want that.
Even the Iranian government has released a statement saying, hey, American people, just so you know, we don't hate you. We just hate your leadership.
Right. I mean,
right. Which I think
they have said death to America. So, I mean, it's kind of like out of one side of their mouth.
But
also, I believe that generally the population of Iran is not trying to do anything to harm America. It's just like the general population of America isn't trying to harm Iranians. But there are a very select few people that think we need to harm each other.
Exactly.
And we're too stupid to know why.
Wasn't Iran, this is actually a legitimate question. Obviously, I'm ignorant in this. Wasn't Iran going through their own somewhat regime change prior to us getting involved in this war?
They've been trying to do that forever.
Yeah. Supposedly. I mean, and then you make it, and I sometimes wonder if that's being sensationalized by the U.S. media.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
Like, oh, there's been 30,000 people murdered in Iran by their government. It's like, really? I don't know. Because is that why we need to go bomb them? I don't like it's just so hard to believe. I guess
follow that logic. Yes. Yeah.
The point is like, can we believe it? And really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you can believe it or not. What matters is that it's very obvious that a 0.001% of people are making all the decisions that affect everybody in the world. Yeah. I bet you if you went to Russia, like the people were probably pretty sweet, but you know what? The governments don't talk to each other.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. I don't know. Like we've said this many, many times in the show. I just think now more than ever, it's important to have like your own sort of ability to generate value so you can escape from the system in some way, right? Yes. And to be, make sure that your entire existence isn't dependent on being tied to like some organization or something.
My theory's always been to earn my way out of the average person's problems.
Yeah. Yeah. But the problem is that average person, as the top people get larger and larger, the box gets much bigger.
Yeah. I am the average person, but I'm saying
yes.
With having some freedom and security, you're able to like weather certain storms.
Mm-hmm.
And to the most extreme point is you're able to weather significant storms of like, I don't know, massive government fallout or economic fallout.
Well, here we go. If you guys are good with that, I'm going to change the subject pretty abruptly.
Yeah.
Yes. We're done being doomers.
I got an email from Open Door for our personal residence, and I have not got one of these in a long time. And
sorry, Sorry. Cat's back. Fucking bathroom cat.
This offer is actually pretty close to ARV. I would say that's actually pretty accurate. Yeah. Yeah. But of course, if I sign it and then they'll be like, oh, we're going to be 60 grand less.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You should do this as like an experiment for the show. You don't have to show up the title.
You're
like,
right.
Show up the escrow.
You're right. I should.
You should. I want to know their process. What are they doing? How good's the sales guy? Do they want to sell loans? That's all
Seriously. You should definitely do that and just like ghost them.
I'll fill it out when I get home later. Yeah.
That's actually what we should do, Dan, to recruit some more sales folks. We should just start like applying for like software companies and stuff.
Oh,
and just like if the sales guy's good, just like see if we can recruit him.
Probably.
Like I'm not buying your product, but you've been good to work with. You should come over and work for me.
Absolutely.
Do that with like the pest control people in your neighborhood. They sell
Dude, I want some
panels.
of those. Yeah, I want some of the, no, the solar panels feel a little dirty. The pest control people are Mormons, so they at least have a certain level of like ethical standards, certain level, I should say. But I'd get some of them pest control people to work. They could sell anything.
Exactly. Dude, I've had one come to my house. They're good. They met every objection. I'm just like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm not interested. Bye. Like,
yeah, they're good. No, seriously, even if it's a stupid answer, they have one.
Yeah.
They're good. I've told you guys the story about when I had 2 pest control companies for like an entire 6 months because I was so impressed with the Point Pest Control guy. I was like,
that is hilarious.
I was like, dude, you know what? Like, you did a good job. Like, I already have a pest guy, but I'll buy this. Like, and I told him that too. I was like, I already have a guy, but I'll pay for you.
Yeah.
You did a good job.
That's funny.
I mean, it was only a few $100, but whatever.
There was a guy there's a high school kid that was trying to sell mulch in our neighborhood. And, he's in high school and he came up and opened the door and he's like, I'm selling mulch for like the band or football team, whatever it was. And I'm looking around. I'm like, well, how much mulch do I need? How many bags do I need to get? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, not interested, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds about right.
You gotta have a sales pitch at least.
See, if he was a really good salesperson, he would have whipped out like a ruler or like a tape measure and he would just like measure. And he's like, well, for every 3 feet, we need this much. He would have sold you twice as much as you actually needed.
And I would have been like, sounds right. Sure.
I have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah. But instead he's just like, no, I don't know.
Cool. Right on, guys. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
You guys have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you guys next time.
See y'all.
See ya.
This episode is sponsored by Sir Lancelot LLC, also known as SLA Capital, which, if you didn't know, is Dan and I's private lending company. So yes, we are sponsoring our own show, but what you going to do about it? It is our private lending company that offers hard money and DSCR loans to real estate investors of all types. So you can be a new investor, an experienced investor. You can be buying flips. You can be buying rentals, whatever. We can do everything. And not only that, but the rates that we offer are just as competitive, if not cheaper, than pretty much every other company out there. So whatever big company you've been working with, bring us their term sheets and I guarantee you that we can probably beat it. We have the same connections they do. We just don't have all the overhead and middlemen. So if you want to come and check us out, go to slacapital.com/keys and I will know that you came from the show. And by seeing that you came from here, when you get to closing, you will save $500 on your first loan with us. So slacapital.com/keys, we would love to fund your next deal. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want more from us, you can shoot us a follow on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorManDan. And Dylan is at Dylan_does_deals. Shoot us a follow and send us a DM to let us know what you think of the show.